What is that unwrapping sound you hear, world? Could it be us?
Twin.
Could it be us metaphorically unwrapping the truth? Mm-hmm. Is that what this is?
Yep.
Yeah? Feel good about that? Well, okay then.
Also, it's me literally unwrapping a fruit snack.
That's terrific. This is This Week in Mormons, everybody. Your premier, greatest ever Mormon culture, news, everything podcast. We do it all, and we do all of it averagely.
You know, I don't mean to sound presumptuous, but I've listened to some of the other Mormon podcasts out there, and we are by far the best.
I can say that objectively. I'm open enough to criticism that we are better than most everyone.
Yeah, if I was bad, I'd tell you, people.
We'd say, don't listen.
We're great.
But you should listen.
We're funny, clever, borderline witty, some say.
Yeah,
also,
this conversation.
We have serious issues that we deal with in a meaningful way.
Yeah. Peppered in with the humor and the absurdity. We have it all here, folks.
No, that's right. We season with laughter and oregano.
What you're dealing with here, though, this is like whole hog barbecue, all right?
Okay,
you get
keep
whole
going with
thing.
this. I like this.
We get the dry rub and all the little bits, the pieces, the things, and you put it in the slow smoker.
Yeah, we dry rub here at This Week in Mormons.
And we leave it there, and what comes out is delicious.
Wait, like in the very end, are we talking fecal? No. No, like a dinner plate maybe with coleslaw. And okay, I see where you went.
Everything you could ever want, we can offer you on this program, everybody.
Oh, wow.
If you have questions about your 401k or your Roth IRA, we can even answer that.
That's true. Jeff's very good with finances.
We can give you investment advice. Basically, anything you want to know.
We are qualified. I don't know if this is legal or not, but we can give investment advice. Absolutely.
If Jim Cramer can give investment advice, we can give investment advice.
Yeah, so we're going to upgrade the Amazon stock to don't sell.
Exactly.
That's what we
But folks, please, if you do have anything to share with us, we encourage you to shoot us an email at contact@thisweekinmormons.com and visit our website at thisweekinmormons.com.
Our website's been hopping, Jeff. I attribute that a lot to you. We've had a lot of new articles and stuff going up there, a lot of discussion happening.
Yeah, that's the thing, folks. For a long time, we were we've always focused on the podcast. That's still our bread and butter. But we've been working,
and I will.
But we've been working more to branch out and offer more in forms of written content, stuff along those lines, aside from just the podcast we do. So definitely go to thisweekinmormons.com and read some articles, leave a comment, share, do whatever you like. We'd love to have you be more involved on any level you see fit. Anything at all. Now that we have some housekeeping like that out of the way, how is Missouri, Al? And have you seen her lately?
Oh, Missouri is wonderful. I'm in Missouri at this very moment, Jeff. I want you to paint a picture in your head's mind. And I want you to use these words to do it. White, snow everywhere, freezing 0 degrees. That is Missouri at this moment. It's wonderful.
That is not
outside, I feel like I'm borderline absolute zero. Like we're playing with the big K right now. We are frozen to the degree where you walk outside and I feel like sound is deadened because I mean really, if I were on my way to the South Pole, I'd be worried about my next depot that I was trying to find to eat. That's how cold it is right now. It's awful. It's very cold.
Yeah, that's not how it was
my state.
When I was there. No, I picture amber waves of grain and rolling hills and terrible allergies. That's what I always picture. I had a rough go when I was out there.
Yeah, well, you're like the cute fat kid that he's always sneezing.
I'm delicate.
He tries to go outside. Yeah. I mean, your mom keeps you in, like, you're playing video games when the rest of us are playing full contact football. And you look out there and you're like, you guys are stupid. I'm going to go study maps.
Actually, I played outdoors all the time as a kid. That's all I did.
Even with your allergies and the hay fever?
I don't really have that bad allergies, but Missouri did something to me. There have been 2 times in my life I've experienced like really bad allergies. One was in Missouri. The other time was when spring came when I lived in Scotland. So I don't know if my body just doesn't know these pollens and allergens and stuff. But those are the only 2 times I've had like really bad allergies.
Well,
yeah. Usually I'm pretty okay.
No, I can only mock you because I have no allergies. If I had any allergies, like they take the strongest man and put him in fits of sneezing. It's ridiculous. So
In
I'm
Scotland,
sorry about that, but I look at you, even though I know you can't do anything about your allergies, I blame them on the fact that you're weak. Maybe? I don't know. That's how it appears. I can't even have a conversation with you. Jeff with his elder wand. This is ridiculous.
This is what we do every time Al starts upsetting me. I just pick up the wand and point it at the camera. So he's reminded of who's really in charge here.
I just like that I can offhandedly call you
I
weak.
will put you under the Imperious curse.
I will not. All right.
Fiend.
No, it's yeah.
Anyway, so it's freezing in Missouri is what you're saying. Very
That's what
cold.
I'm trying to say. How's DC? How's the old East?
It's been fine. It's cold. It's cold. I guess we're going to get some bad snowstorm this week.
Have you gotten a nor'eastern, Jeff?
We've had a couple. I might wind up being snowed in here. We've had a relatively cold and snowy winter as far as winters in DC go. It's not like Missouri, but yeah.
Can we take a moment to talk about how mocking global warming because we're having a freezing winter is silly and we should not do that?
Let's think about this though. The premise of the masterpiece from 2004, The Day After Tomorrow, was that global warming caused these hyper freezes. So we could still say, according to Roland Emmerich's logic, and who would ever argue with Roland Emmerich, the man brought us Independence Day? Come on. Now, by his logic, the warming actually causes the freezing. So
no, I'm actually with that. The global warming, the warming sensation that we have would, by nature, cause further depths on the other side as you are turned away from the sun. Yes. So this whole idea of we like, oh, global warming, what a farce, because it's really cold. That's just don't use that argument. I don't care if you disagree with science
extreme weather.
Think that polar ice caps are not melting. Just don't blame it on global warming. It makes you seem
the
silly.
Rain?
Yeah, come up with another thing to mock. Find another way to attack it. You got to be like a crafty husband 20 years into marriage. You can't keep nagging the same way you've always nagged. You got to be creative. Come up with some crafty ways of coming at your significant other, make her feel like less of a person. That's what you got to do, Jeff. This is what marriage is.
On BuzzFeed, I saw some terrific Valentine's ideas. One of them was like a nice silver platter with nothing but cleaning supplies on it. So a new approach
bad idea.
to get your wife to clean.
Now, sadly, I know some women that would just be excited to get something on Valentine's Day. They'd be like, oh my gosh, honey, you remembered. And that saddens me.
The way I won Danielle over, because we didn't really start like dating until about 2 years ago.
Was it a Valentine's Day?
I wouldn't know that it was specifically Valentine's Day, but I was at like CVS or something, and they had these awful.
That's a pizza chain for those of you that don't know.
It's an
all-you-can-eat buffet. It's a pizza buffet.
You're thinking of Cece's.
Yep, that's what you said.
So anyway, they had these Twilight Valentines with Bella and Edward and Jacob and these terrible.
You've sold your soul for your woman. Is that
so?
What you
I dropped
did?
I spent like $3 and bought this multi-pack of all these awful Twilight Valentines, and so I took one of them. Man. No. I went out at 1 a.m. and left the beautiful Twilight Valentine on Danielle's windshield, so she'd get it when she got.
Wait, so you weren't dating at this point? This is how you won her love?
There was a slow process for us.
Had you kissed her at this point when she got?
No, I had not kissed her. We're almost coming up on our 2-year kiss-anniversary.
So with no precedence there. You just manned up. You went for a 4 a.m. purchase on a whim of a terrible Valentine's and went to her house creepily and left these on her car.
Just one of them.
If the door would have been open, would you have opened the door and left them on the inside?
No. I knew she'd get it if it was on her car. So I put it on her car. Things were coming together in this sense. We were already kind of like holding hands a little bit here and there and being cuddly. And we already had plans anyway that we were going to spend Valentine's Day together, as friends. So we were each other's Valentines anyway. I could say that day was a good catalyst.
This is awful.
This
is awful. How did she
much
marry
groundwork.
You? She is a sound woman. Why would she give herself to a buffoon? A Twilight Valentine buffoon.
Because she knew it was stupid. The next day was delightful. She'd been mentoring a girl at a junior high, and we went to a poetry reading competition there with the junior high students, which was spectacular. I did my own judging.
How do you win at life? How are you beating me at the
That was her idea.
The race of love.
And then later on that evening, after going to Red Robin for dinner, we went and saw the film The Vow.
Oh my gosh.
We saw Channing Tatum and Rachel McAdams in love.
You are the worst at love. Like the worst at love.
But I'm not. I played to my strengths. Danielle loves Red Robin, and it's our thing now. I kid you not. We will be going to Red Robin on Friday. I kid you not. That will be our Valentine's dinner, and it probably always will be. It's just how we roll.
That's awful.
I will get her a Hawaiian burger.
That's brilliant of you because you're not jockeying for some reservation at a fancy restaurant every Valentine's Day. You're like, no, this is our thing, babe. We always go to McDonald's and get a $1 menu burger. That's what we do.
No,
they're both $1. That's our thing.
I double checked because she already functions under the assumption that we were gonna go, but I was like, yeah, buy that. Like, You're still cool with that? Like, I don't want to establish a precedent that secretly you resent or anything. But she's into it. Speaking of McDonald's, I kid you not, a poster on a McDonald's. I kid you not. I didn't go. I just saw it. This was online, actually.
You've said that 5 times this episode already. I kid you not. Yes, Jeff.
A McDonald's where you can actually have your Valentine's dinner at McDonald's. Where you can come in on Valentine's Day and their staff will seat you and take your order and treat it like a restaurant.
I want to go to there.
I mean, well, if you're still stuck in Missouri, that might be your only option. So you might go to there.
Okay.
Or Subway.
Okay,
so,
if
anyway,
they actually will serve me, if they will actually serve me, even at my rural McDonald's.
But I've been to the McDonald's that's there in
this is wonderful.
The McDonald's in Cameron looks like a Roman palace. They better serve you well there. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, it does. It looks great.
Folks, if you want to have an experience, for no reason whatsoever, McDonald's in the sticks outside of Kansas City has multiple fireplaces and Roman columns all throughout the interior. I don't know why or how this happened.
But if you ever want to have a random little bit of Jesse Ventura. Okay, well,
if you're ever on I-35,
well, that's exciting.
Going
for
down,
Valentine's
and you
Day.
see the exit for Cameron.
That's an exciting place to be. I'm glad you're going to Red Robin for the bottomless fries. I expect you will use some of the seasoned salts. Yeah. And well done, Jeff.
Well, you mean when I draw her a bath later? Yes, absolutely.
Will you do anything beyond food? Like, will you go to a show for Valentine's Day?
Maybe. We'll see how we feel.
Oh boy. Oh gosh.
I might just go see the Lego movie and call it a night.
I want to mentor you in love. I feel like I could teach you so much, but you've...
Hold on, schmoery. You are going to mentor me in love, lest I remind you. Let's see. Let's look at... Al, raise your left hand.
All right, just because you stumbled into a successful relationship does not make you proficient. It does not make you proficient
I did not stumble. Danielle took a lot of work and patience. Okay, there was no stumbling. No stumbling. No. I stuck it out. That's what I did.
All right, whatever.
Moving on to other eternal things like the church, the gospel.
Yeah, let's talk about Mormondom.
In my leading story this week, everybody, of interesting note to some people.
For us, I feel like there is.
I don't know.
All right. While you lead into your next story, I'm going to call you on our normal G chat, and it's going to be better. Okay?
Okay, that sounds fine. So, folks, what we got right here is Peggy Fletcher Stack writing for the Trib, saying that Mormon officials, while being okay with birth control, are not okay with paying for your birth control. Al, you've seen this story, I think, right? We talked about it.
Yes, I have.
So yeah, the whole point of this is I don't know how Peggy Fletcher Stack dug this up.
You've seen that Hobby Lobby story going around that where the guy's like, we might just have to shut our doors because the government's going to fine us because we don't want to provide contraceptives, we feel like it's against our religion to provide that for our employees. You've seen that, right?
I have not seen that, but I've seen similar cases, like, Catholic Charities. Basically, a lot of people, especially religious institutions, want an opt-out, so they're not required to provide birth control.
Yeah.
So I have not seen the exact one.
That's the thing that's happening. What's interesting here is the church. So the church is also jumping on the bandwagon. But it's interesting that the churches, their statement is pretty much they're okay with contraceptives.
Which they always have been, yeah.
Yeah, but what they're not okay with is the fact that they would have to pay money to provide those contraceptives, right? They don't. So we don't feel like it's against our religion to plan for a birth or to have a baby, but for some reason we're drawing a line in the sand along with these guys on this thing. It actually doesn't make very much sense to me as I'm pondering this.
It seems weird because it's clear that even if it's not forced to, the church is not going to offer contraception. It's not, and that's what is weird to me too, because it's like,
but why not? What if we had a CTR themed condom line? What if that happened? I feel like maybe some better.
I don't think that condoms fall under the healthcare mandate as covered.
This is just pill birth control.
Well, I don't know if it's just pill birth control. I actually don't know which ones are totally mandated under the Obamacare stuff.
Who's to say?
If it's only pill contraceptives or if it's all sorts of contraceptives. I honestly don't know.
But why?
Even on top of that,
why pick this just because of the financial ramifications? I mean, why is this the point where you toe the line and say we're not going past here?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I mean, I think it's one thing because they're just trying to make sure that they can say, hey, we should have religious freedom. We should be able to choose if we want to offer this or not. But at the same time, I feel like why not offer it and let people choose for themselves? I'm sure there are plenty of Mormons who are even opposed to birth control and don't want to take it. And that's fine, and that's their right. Let them.
Yeah.
But considering this is all under Deseret Mutual, so this covers all LDS employees, BYU faculty, CES teachers, LDS seminary teachers, whatever it may be. I think they're all covered. I don't know if under BYU's separate healthcare plan for students, I have no idea if birth control is covered under that or not, because I never had to deal with that at BYU. If anyone knows, let us know.
Again, the only reason why this is an interesting story to me is that we are okay with it in principle. We're not okay with it when we have to pay for it.
Yeah, pretty much, which seems kind of funny because we're okay paying for lots of other things, but we don't want to. I also don't know how much, just if you had to get the pill over the counter. Maybe it's not that expensive. I have no idea.
What is it, like $8?
I don't know. I don't know how much it costs without insurance.
I'm not a woman. We haven't learned these things yet.
I don't know these things. I'm just a guy.
I'm just a simple man.
I am. So, anyways, that's just an interesting thing of note, folks. So don't work for the church if you're worried about getting contraception for your family.
Interesting. So there's an article this week, fairly interesting, on thoughts on things and stuff. These are the guys. They've done a couple of articles that we talked about of late, where I don't know. They've got some interesting stuff now and then. Not always. I mean, not always. But these were the guys that we talked about a little bit with the President Monson hoo-ha in the UK stuff. They had
we haven't talked about we have not actually talked about the Monson stuff on the show this week because that broke out and we published.
You wrote an article on it.
I did write an article.
So anyway, they took another. I mean, they encourage us to ponder tithing one more time, and they ask, should tithing be paid only on our surplus? And what I see here is I see a couple of guys that are trying to squeeze a few pennies away from the Lord. And so let's humor them, if we will.
Well, that is the easy way to look at it, and they do discuss that in some of the articles.
Well, I mean, you can't ever feel more cheap than when you're trying to nickel and dime God, right? Like, if you err on the side of too much tithing, whoopsie, sorry about that. If you err on the side of too little tithing, you will burn forever. I mean, that's essentially what we believe, right?
Hi, new members of the church. We hope you're listening. Welcome.
So
nice to have you.
So if you're paying your tithing, I mean, we could get chintzy on this, but anyway. So they say the doctrine as we have it here, is tithing is 10% of income more than that which we have need, is the church handbook policy, right? So the idea that it would be on your surplus.
In theory, and that's also what it does say in Doctrine and Covenants 119:4. It says, Zion shall be tithed of their surplus properties. That's what it does say.
Wait, you're reading Doctrine and Covenants 119:4?
No, that's 5. 4 says, those who have thus been tithed shall pay 1/10 of all their interest annually. And so, of course, that opens up the definition of interest. And in one of these articles, actually, I think it's a related one to this one, he goes into early 19th century definitions of what interest would have meant in that time. And I agree with you, Al. It could just easily seem like people who just want to nickel and dime the Lord, but at the same time, what if there is something, just to play devil's advocate, what if there's something to understand?
Yeah, I've genuinely asked the same question because there's for a while in the beginning I would pay on my net, right? So what I would take home if I got a paycheck for $500, even though I got paid $700, but if $500 was written on the check, that's what I'd pay tithing on, and then I'd also pay tithing on the on my tax return, right? Yeah. That was sort of my approach. And then I got a bunch of buddies that pay on their gross, and so if you get paid $10,000, you pay $1,000, even though you may only take home $7,000, right? So it's something where as you grow up and you come into the point where you're paying tithing not on $12, all of a sudden you're like, all right, hold on, what exactly am I supposed to do with this? How am I supposed to conduct my finances here? So I'm okay talking about this. I'm okay having this discussion because I think it's interesting and people people ask the same question, but at the same time, as somebody that now that you've already figured it out and you're happy with it, to come back and be like, well, I wonder if I could save a little money. I could cancel my Netflix. Also, I could pay less tithing. I don't know.
Right. But I do think that this is interesting because, we've had the gross versus net debate before. And honestly, this article alleges that it is implied that it's net because if it's our surplus, if it's after our expenses, you could argue an expense are the taxes they have to pay on your wages.
Well, they're talking about the net. They're saying more than that which you have need. So this is after your rent's been paid and after your
so that's what I'm working into. Yeah. So we usually talk about gross and net, but they're talking about, I guess, under the idea that you itemize out all of your actual necessities, that's where it can get kind of
whatever
murky.
you have left at the end of the month. That they're saying that's what you should pay.
But then it does get a lot more complicated because if you do it by that, you're really having to think about, well, whatever I've left over, but how much more would I have left over if I consecrated better? You know what I mean?
Well,
because you could say based off paying off your needs. So
you
where do you draw
could never
the line?
have any surplus. I'm always out of money, man. Always. See, that's the thing is tithing is supposed to be a sacrifice, right? So that's what makes me think that this is sort of going the wrong direction here, and I believe most bishops would concur in a temple worthiness interview that this is going the wrong direction. Because if you're finding ways of making a sacrifice not a sacrifice, right? If you're finding a way of saying, well, I'll pay my tithing, but it's not going to hurt anymore because I figured out that I only technically have a surplus of $12 ever.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't work.
Unless you took some crazy position and you said, wait a minute, maybe we have misunderstood the principle for a very long time, and it's been a great reason to raise more money for the church, but it's not actually what was expected of us. Who knows?
Well,
I'm simple, and bear in mind, I'm working different positions. I'm not saying that's even
right. Well, so I mean, even more interesting than maybe I get away without paying any tithing is a discussion between what is your increase, what is your surplus? Is it the the like your take home pay, or is it net, or is it gross? Do you pay on a tax return? When I got a grant in college, they wrote me a check for $2,000 and I was supposed to go and spend that on my education stuff. Was that an increase that I should have paid tithing on? In my mind, at that point, I was like, well, it's like they're discounting my education. I don't pay tithing on a sale item at Nordstrom Rack. So why would I? But it could have gone either way. I could have rationalized my way out of it or into it very easily.
And that's a grant. I didn't pay tithing on student loans in grad school because why would I? I mean, it's a loan. It's not. I don't know. So it gets very, very. It's hard to say. And tithing is.
And here's the crummy thing: is the church is just like, we've said it already. Pay it on your increase.
And that's all they say, though. And I think part of that is it goes back to simple principles here. That, you know what? We can read these scriptures. We can read 119 and read 120 of Doctrine and Covenants and pray about it and figure it out for ourselves. Some people are more comfortable with gross and good, and some are more comfortable with paying on the net and doing what exactly what you described, just paying tithing on the tax return as well. Because I think those who would pay gross would not pay tithing on the tax return because they assume they paid, based on what they.
But then you get to this point where you get to this point where you're doing like tax strategy also equals like trying to get out of tithing and stuff. I don't know. It gets. Well, just be good.
No, it really does, because you could work tax strategy and know like exactly what your actual what your threshold is going to be. Because when you claim tithing as a donation, they don't take that whole amount off. It's whatever threshold you pass. It just drops down to the next lowest tier. You know what I'm saying? Like if you paid 10 grand in tithing on the year, they're probably only going to let you discount like 5 grand because you have to hit certain notches for it to make a difference. And you could see people playing the tax game, and this is all a problem with America, people. For those of you who live in a country with a flat tax, I envy you for how uncomplicated your life must be. Congratulations.
All right.
Everyone just pays 16%. That's it. No return. You just do it. Life goes on. So I don't know. It's good food for thought, though, I think about. Interesting, another little item here of note. So the church has entered into some kind of a pact or an agreement with some of the larger genealogy portals that are out there, namely Ancestry.com, FindMyPast.com, and MyHeritage.com. And so from now on, anyone who goes to a family history center can have just anyone, general public, LDS or not, will be able to use those freely at family history centers. But also, and I don't know how they're going to implement this, LDS church members, who I'm assuming have an LDS login, will actually get free subscriptions to Ancestry to these websites, which is a pretty big deal because like the subscription they'll be giving you on Ancestry.com, it might not be their best one, but it's still their World Edition subscription. And instead of paying money every month, it's worth like $500-$400, and you just get it for free. So you want to talk about things the church is writing off and paying for? I mean, boom, just free access.
Yeah. So this is actually, this would be a great use of tithing funds, right? Like buying access. To some
I'm
of these
sure it is
things.
a good use of tithing funds.
I'm curious though. I seem to remember that the church owns a fairly decent stake in Ancestry.
Yeah, I've heard that before, correctly. But I've never had it corroborated.
I don't know either, but I'm under the assumption that like they actually can call and have some chat about this with some of their guys. I'm guessing they get a pretty good deal because you access it via portal through Family Search, and for somebody like Ancestry. It'd make good sense to get your stuff out there and get genealogists that are using the best free tool in there to be touching some of your paid records in the hopes that they'd come across eventually. So, I think a smart move by both parties. Good work. And exciting.
Oh, and what I do know about Ancestry.com is it was started by Mormons, and lots of them
it was.
work in it. They're publicly traded, so my guess is the church just owns a stake in the company. Because we own Burger King. Why not, right?
I do love that.
And thanks to Mitt Romney, we own Burger King. It's great. It's wonderful.
Let's see. Here's another article in the Deseret News, the nation's newspaper. We call it the nation's newspaper, the Deseret News.
That's what we call it now?
It says parents who snowplow deprive kids of learning to clear their own paths. Jeff, I'm curious what your thoughts on this are. Essentially, it's saying that parents who do all the work to clear the path for their child to succeed are actually doing more harm than good. So if your mom wants you to be in the band, she goes and buys you the instrument and talks to the band director and does all the work, and then just tries to get you to show up. That's all she wants you to do. She's done everything else.
Can I share a story with you?
Yeah, if it's autobiographical, you may.
It actually is autobiographical. Because I was a bando in high school. Proudly
That's what I heard.
Proudly so. And my mom did not completely clear the path. She was very generous and helped me have, she helped me rent a saxophone until I bought one and blah, blah, blah. But to band...
Wait, you played the saxophone?
Where have we been? We've been friends for 8 years. You don't know that saxophone is my first instrument? Come on.
The entire time I've been hanging out with a saxophone player?
I play the instrument of love. Yes. Thank you.
Why don't you do that at Red Robin, you cheap dirty?
Well, did I tell you last week we had a missionary play sax in primary?
No.
I don't know what the point of it was, but he just he played.
Was it like Pooh's Corner by Kenny Loggins?
In a way, he got out there and started playing "Do As I'm Doing" along with the piano, just the melody. I
bet there were a bunch of kids that were like, "What the freak is this guy doing?"
But that was the point. Kids are so hard to entertain that they were so baffled by that they actually paid attention. Anyway, my mom did a thing called band bucks because band costs money, and she wasn't just going to give it to me. So during the summer vacation, I guess I was too young to have a job, if I'm 13 or 14 or whatever. I had to do various chores around the house, take care of things that she needed, all of which she had assigned a monetary value.
Wait, she invented a microeconomic.
Yes, and I had to. So I had to do
existed.
enough. I had to do enough stuff worth certain values to reach a threshold, in order for her to.
Oh, you earned an allowance, Jeff. That's what we call it.
No, but it wasn't quite an allowance. She wasn't just giving me money. I didn't actually earn money.
You did chores, and then you were rewarded for it. Go on, yeah, that's an allowance.
Yeah, I did chores, and I was rewarded for it, but they were crazy chores, not the usual. Just take the trash out. You're talking like.
Whoa.
Yeah, more hardcore chores. I'm just saying.
Hardcore crazy chores. I can only imagine what we're describing. Oh, Barbara, that poor divorcee.
The point is, I agree with you because it made me, in this article anyway, it made me work for my band experience a little bit and not just have every single way opened up for me. Because then I didn't appreciate it. I mean, yeah, you got to let your kids have to sort some things out on their own and earn stuff and take care of some things.
Well, yeah, and in my experience, I mean, I felt this way in college. I often wished that I had a rich benefactor that could just pay for my college so I wouldn't have to work a job while going through it because it was really stressful and yada, yada, yada. And, I mean, I know a lot of parents, that's important to them to help their child get off on the right foot and all that jazz. But, man, I loved starting from scratch and the fire that gave me and the, sort of the excitement to try and make it and do it and make the right decision and all that action. Right, that was a big deal. And had my parents had the bank account that I could draw on, and have they taken care of my housing and all that stuff, I would be not nearly as developed as I am today. I mean, instead, like college was my first stab at I have to go and rent an apartment and figure that out. And I have to go and do this and figure that out. Yeah. Now, on the flip side, you feel bad for some of the parents that have these just kind of chump kids that won't go and do anything, and they're just trying to get them out of the house. I want him to get a job, so I went and applied to Burger King for him. Or I want him to get a date, so I created a fake profile on eHarmony and have been interacting with these people for him. And now he has a date from somebody he's never talked to. I mean, these are well-intentioned parents just trying to get their kids out there getting on the saddle. What do you do about that, Jeff? What you think about that? Jeff, what do you think about that? Jeff. I've destroyed us. I lost you.
Yeah.
In the worst way. I was yelling at you, and then I said, Jeff.
And then you realized that you dropped the call.
I didn't drop the call. We dropped it together. But as I was saying, these parents just want their kids to get out of the house, and so they do everything for them.
Yeah.
What do you say to them?
No, it's hard because I've seen that.
I've seen it myself.
Because for some people, it's just hard. Every case is individual. I mean, there's some people.
No, there needs to be sweeping standards.
Okay, federally mandated standards. Perfect. No, it really does vary. But I do think, generally speaking, we do more harm than good when we just clear the path and put no obstacles in the way of anything, because then we don't teach kids. I mean, what do I know? I haven't put kids through anything yet. But at the same time, the opportunities just like you that I had to have to learn and fend for myself and grow and figure some things out benefited me. I'm very grateful for the help I've received throughout my life, of course. Don't get me wrong. There's been times when people have helped me out and been able to be generous, and that's wonderful, and I'm grateful for it. But I'm equally grateful to grow. So, what I've learned, I have no intention of buying my kids a car. I might help them buy a car.
No, don't help them.
I might help them buy a car in the sense of, yeah, you're going to get a job and earn money and pay for most of this, and I might help you out a little bit as a reward.
Jeff, the best way is to pretend like you don't know who they are.
You're right about that, though. And I do have a master plan to ignore my children between the ages of 13 and 18 because that's when they're terrible.
Yeah.
I'm just going to disappear. So what do you guys think about
smart.
parenting? Many of you are parents. Tell us things.
Jeff and I have no idea what we're doing.
No, we really
We're
don't.
not parents at all.
In other earth-shattering news, according to the New York Times, that liberal bastion of lies, camels had no business in the book of Genesis.
What?
Yeah, see, so the book of Genesis, happened, of course.
Yeah, I remember.
And historians are now saying, like, guys, there were no camels back in Egypt and Canaan and all these places and Ur. There were no camels then. They had not been domesticated and brought over by that point in history. So obviously, this isn't really that earth-shattering. It just means what we already knew, that the Bible was not put together or translated as the Bible until later down the line, which also reminds us that even scripture translations can have problems at times, and that man, however well-intentioned, does not necessarily have all enlightenment or authority to carry out such things. I mean, honestly, the books that we have in the Bible, it was pretty much just an arbitrary choice by the powers that were at the time. I mean, yeah, we don't have the Maccabees just because we said, we don't need those. Or the Apocrypha. I digressed a little bit.
Okay, first, I was under the impression that that's how people in deserts got around. I've watched Aladdin. Guess what? Camels.
Now they do. And even by the time, by the meridian of time, yes, camels have become a part of culture and of commerce by that point. But I guess as far back in the very early passages of the Bible, they did not exist yet. There are no camels. They've tried to find skeletons, evidence of camels. There were no camels in Egypt back in the day. So whoever translated it just assumed they just kind of had camels, or whatever random creature they had was a camel.
Or maybe they were donkeys and they were translated as camels incorrectly. We believe in the Bible as far as it is translated correctly. So we do not, luckily, we don't believe that there were camels in the Bible either.
But this does make me think of the Book of Mormon, Al. I mean, what do you say to the fact that the Book of Mormon has mention of horses when history argues that Europeans brought horses over to the Americas? There were no native horses. So what do you say to that?
And Curulams and Cummums and all these other things. There's animals that are translated.
Yeah, I'm convinced they were actually riding around on tapirs.
Tapirs? No. So here's one of the other things Jeff and I were talking about earlier that I think, still, man, I don't know. It's interesting, right? So it's the idea that. Wait, Jeff, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm with you. What's up?
Okay, so we were talking about Noah's Ark, right, and how.
Sure. Because we had that lesson last week.
Yeah, there's people that are just like, Noah's Ark is clearly allegorical, right? It didn't actually happen. There was no flood in the last 5,000 years that destroyed everything. That's not a real thing. That the flood that lasted and killed everything and blah blah blah. And it's an interesting topic for us LDS folk because there's no like for sure standard that there's nothing that says we are, we believe in the Bible as it is currently understood by everyone, or not everyone, but by like most people. So like things like, we don't necessarily believe that the world has been around for 6,000 years. We believe that it's been around for, that's how those time periods were measured in terms of 1,000 years, as though it were.
Yeah, but you're thinking of the creation where the days represent lengthy periods. But if you're talking actual dispensations, then many people do believe that started, in 4,000.
6,000 years ago? I don't believe that the world started 6,000 years ago.
Neither do I. I don't either. I have no problem.
Well, and so, I mean, are we, as Mormons, are we Bible literalists, or are we Bible... What's the other one? Like, I'm mostly...
Allegorist.
I'm mostly, like, I believe the stories in the Bible, and I believe that they actually happened, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's some that, like, I mean, when we get to heaven and God's like, no, that Jonah thing, please. I didn't actually do that. That was to teach you a lesson. We were Bible people. That's what we do. We tell stories. You know, I'd be like, oh, well, because we thought that you meant that he actually swallowed Jonah.
Well, here's the interesting thing. There's an article sort of dealing in this over at Times and Seasons. I recommend you go and read it. Times and Seasons is a great blog in general. But this one's called Mormon Appropriation of Fundamentalism and Its Outcomes. And this is sort of what we're talking about. Is there a difference between fundamentalist Mormons in the sense that we're literalists and those who are not? And what it cites is, I guess there was an article that was published back in 1998 called The Flood and the Tower of Babel, and or Babel. And this article, asserts the literal aspect of the Bible, but sort of going as far as telling people who don't believe that as latter or anyone that we're confused by science, we lack faith. A lot of those pejoratives that were thrown out. It's very black or white. And this article used to be linked to in the Gospel Doctrine lesson that we just had, that most of you probably had last week, lesson 6, all about Noah and the Ark in the Old Testament lessons.
Yep.
And this used to be one of the suggested readings, but the church, interestingly enough, has basically, the article is still there, but they've pulled all links to it from other curricula, so that's why it makes me wonder. We don't pull the article itself, much like, remember the little factories thing. You can still find it there. It's just not easy to find. And so it's like we keep the material there, but obviously we're trying to back away from it. So I don't know. I don't think the church has an official policy in saying whether we are literalists or not. But yeah, what about the flood, though? Well, you don't believe the earth is 6,000 years old, but do you believe that there was a deluge that lasted for half a year, that killed all life beneath it, that flooded above the highest mountains on the earth, that the plates and the mountains and terrain moved from what must have been Pangea into their current form of continents, that all of these things happened during this period of time? I mean, so are you a literalist on that?
Perhaps, right? Like if the 6,000, so the 6,000 years, quote unquote, that we believe the world has been around, if we back that up far enough, and we treat the years as though they were periods, right? Sort of dispensations, but not necessarily in 1,000-year terms as we understand it. I mean, it could work, and there's a danger in playing with, playing this like we're smarter than this sort of content, because when we get to that point, I mean, you start excusing yourself from like actually having to believe in miracles, even, and you say no, that didn't happen. God doesn't actually do anything miraculous. We just do our thing and we go along, and like it becomes very easy to believe it when there's nothing miraculous behind it, right?
Yes.
When you don't have to have any faith related to it. That's why I feel like the Bible is meaningful, is because it induces faith. I mean, there's turning water into wine and all those crazy things that happened that we believe in. And so on the one hand, I feel like we need to not be naive about some of these bigger things and understand that it could have been taught as allegory, but do not let ourselves like get in this mode of second guessing all this stuff that we should.
Did you have? I don't know if you saw this or not. Did you see last week the debate that Bill Nye had with the creationism expert Ken Ham over at the Creationism Museum in Kentucky?
No, I did not.
It was reasonably well publicized. It's great to watch if you ever have 2 hours and 45 minutes to kill. But it was pretty interesting. And Bill Nye repeatedly went back to Noah, and that's why it made me think of that, because Bill Nye just says, "Look, can you really?" And he uses all these scientific, models to say, like, how could you say that everything was possibly basically every living thing on the earth today managed to be put on the ark during that time, even bacteria, even all that stuff. And everything flourished from there on out at that one point. But the debate was interesting between his rational point of view and Ken Ham, this guy who believes in creationist theory, and how you can see how they could closely relate to one another. I just encourage people to check it out or read a synopsis.
Wait, what was interesting about it?
Oh, gosh. I mean, Bill Nye was very much, he's an empirical evidence kind of guy. And that's what he expects. Yeah. And so he kept going back. He's like, can you show me evidence that there was a flood? And science can't really show an evidence that there was a flood. There would be marks. There would be much evidence if there was a flood that happened within the last 5,000 years, especially considering you can go to the Grand Canyon, for example, and you went to back to this repeatedly, and see different layers of the types of rocks and fossils that have been pressed upon themselves over billions of years, presumably. And so, if there had been a flood within the past 5,000 years, it stands to reason, be physical evidence of it. And of course, there isn't. And that's a point that I don't fully know how to reconcile. Ken Ham, the guy who believes in creation theory, had interesting perspectives on things, though, at least as far as evolution and animals. He said, he's like, I'm not saying that, and he's like, I'm not saying that animals didn't sort of evolve over time from what was on the ark. I'm saying that was a type of animal and everything else sprung from that. And then, of course, Bill Nye would say, yeah, but even if you believe that, you really expect to believe that the special diversity flourished over only 5,000 years. It's an interesting debate because I personally, of course, I believe in the creation. Very much so. I just saw the brand new Temple movie last week, the second one, which I highly encourage you see if you haven't seen it yet, everybody.
Oh, it's getting rave reviews.
No, it's really good. I liked it a lot. But, I believe in these things being created, but I also believe that it leaves room for science. Like, I don't have an answer about the fact that there's no physical evidence really of the flood, except for a lot of people who think they found the ark up in Mount Ararat, as we've discussed before. But beyond that, it is a matter of faith. God can work miracles. Angels can appear. I believe the Red Sea parted and the Israelites walked across it. I believe that a staff became a serpent. Sure. Just because we know the laws of physics doesn't mean that we know the laws of physics of the heavens and that we can know how to rationalize all of that.
Man, these are important things to try and understand as a Latter-day Saint.
But I will say the more important thing to understand, folks, is a fundamental testimony of, the Savior and the atonement and the restoration. Don't get so wrapped up in all this stuff that you don't, get the basics and the core things down that'll be something you can build.
And I agree. And again, I mean, we need to go back to the fact that it's helpful to bring these up in sort of friendly environments, right? I mean, we aren't doing anybody favors by hiding our heads in the sand and pretending like questions like this don't exist.
It's true.
They do exist, but the only answer is not, like to forsake your belief in the gospel. Like, they work. Man, science and the gospel of Jesus Christ work together, right? Totally. We don't understand, we may not understand everything right now, but it's like, if we got to the end and God was like, no, dude, I wasn't talking 5,000 years like you said, or no, like, I didn't say that. That was translated this way, and and then you guys believe that? Oh my gosh! Right? We'll feel really silly,
especially that, because how many pieces of scripture do we have that have gone from translations from either Hebrew, Aramaic, Greek, or Latin into something else over time? I mean, it's nothing's perfect, and that's okay.
Well, it's silly to hinge everything on like one single, maybe discrepancy that you have or one thing that you don't understand. Like, take it as an aggregate. Make sure that you look at things from a wide angle lens, because that's how it works.
And I guess sort of building on this, just a brief mention, because we did write about it last week, and so hopefully you saw it on our our social media outlets and everything. But this whole President Monson thing, an ex-member is suing the church, and by the transitive property, President Monson, because he is the president and CEO of the Corporation of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Basically, he feels like he was defrauded because he was induced to part with money, tithing, in order to attain higher levels in the faith. Basically meaning you have to pay tithing to go to the temple. And if you don't pay tithing, you can't go, so you're denied something. And so now he's suing him. There's been a big ruckus about it in a lot of media outlets. I highly encourage people to go to our website and read a post we put about it that deals more in the facts and what's actually going on. But I also think the story's going to die down. I think it's already had its moment in the sun, and the church will send a lawyer over there. And President Monson is not going to go travel to Britain and do this. But the sticking points in his argument are ones that do come up sometimes. Things like Noah's Ark, things like the earth is 6,000 years old. These are all issues this guy raises. The translation of the Book of Abraham I found to be a very popular one amongst those who leave the faith. Honestly, I feel like of all the single reasons people have given me for leaving Mormonism, Book of Abraham is cited easily number 1 or number 2 from almost everybody I talk to.
Really?
Yeah, I get that a lot. From the people who straight up stop believing because they think it doesn't make sense. Not the ones who say it's just too hard or, it just doesn't fit with me, but just straight up doubt because of the Book of Abraham account. I hear that all the time. I don't personally have a problem with it, but whatever. Al, are you gone again? Yeah, you're gone again. That's okay, folks. I can talk by myself. We're just having technical difficulties, like winners. It appears that Al is signed off, so hopefully someday he'll join us again. Even though the show is mostly done, but we can talk for as long as we want. As one caller once reminded us, we are free to say whatever we want for as long as we want, because we own this show. We can do whatever we want on this show.
We do. Often.
Welcome back, sir.
That's what we do.
Anyway, all I was saying is,
ridiculous.
Yeah, Book of Abraham, interesting stuff. I don't have a problem with it. We don't need to get into a whole rabbit's hole on that right now, but worth visiting, though.
Yeah. All right. Well, but again, I mean, it's one of those things where there's ways of understanding it, right? Like you and I both talked about how we take the Book of Abraham as something sort of similar to how Joseph Smith approached the Book of Genesis, and he just, he used it as sort of this springboard to receive revelation. I'm fine with it. I think that what's in the Book of Abraham is meaningful and interesting, and I don't know. I actually don't know the background of whether or not Joseph Smith claimed it was a literal translation of what was on the papyri.
Yeah.
But some of the symbols and stuff were meaningful to him and his understanding of it. So I don't have a problem with it.
And the interesting thing is the church, whatever he said, the church used to say in the introduction of the Book of Abraham, it was an inspired translation of the papyri. That's what it said. But with the new edition of the scriptures that came out last year, they did change that wording to say more what you just said, Al, that an inspired translation that might, or an inspired revelation basically that might have come via the papyri, whatever that may mean. So
yeah. So let's see. Did you know there's 40,000 polygamous Utahns?
You're kidding.
Did you know that, Jeff?
Well,
I'm serious. There are 40,000
I thought there were like
of them.
1,000.
How is there only one TLC reality TV show and there are 40,000
Well,
of them?
see, the thing is the cameras need power, and they don't have that in Colorado
How
City.
have I never been propositioned by a polygamous family to be a part of their menage a trois?
I don't quite think it works like that.
I've been in Utah for a number of years. I'm a handsome man. I know how to build things. I feel like they should accept me into their group.
So you want to take on multiple wives, or are you aiming for polyandry?
No, I want polygamy.
So you want multiple women?
I want a group of sisters to come and say, "Hey, Al, we've been talking, and we'd like you to be our man." I just feel that would be very flattering. I'd be like, "No, I can't. I'm sorry. I'm in a great relationship.
Oh, so
I like where I am, but I want some group of women to want me. That's what I like. I feel like Justin Bieber's probably been approached by a polygamous group.
You don't want to do it. You just want to be asked. That's all you're saying.
Well, that's right. I mean, I would never. Yeah, I would never do it. I would like to be thought of. Is that too much?
Okay.
Anyway,
that's a huge number, though. I had no idea there were 40,000 people.
I would have guessed like 5,000.
Yeah, if that. I had no idea there were that many. It's crazy.
All in Colorado
Another
City,
quick
in the underground tunnels.
news, and I had to read this a few times to fully understand it. We still have the General Relief Society presidency, but now they have actually organized a General Relief Society board, and it will consist of board members who will come, I guess, mostly outside of Utah and outside of the United States, which is cool. So they're going to have their own board, and I think it's great because for any of us who don't live...
It's a diversity board. Is that what this is?
Kind of. I mean, there might be some token people, but beyond that, I mean, how much of church policy that comes out is because of the experiences in the microculture of Utah. And I think it's very good to have boots on the ground elsewhere who can give more realistic...
Wait, so these will not be people living in Utah. They will all reside in their local area, and then they'll convene for Skype chats. Okay.
I'm cool with it.
Let's see. the church has responded to being the Bible-less city, the number one least Bible reading city.
Yeah.
They came out and said, no, you're doing it wrong. Same thing Jeff and I talked about last week, but turns out Jesus agrees with us.
Well, he always has. That's why we started doing the show. In sad news, Al, I think you know the story better than I do. 2 people volunteering at the Gilbert LDS Temple open house.
Pinned under an SUV. He was just walking hand in hand with his wife, and she was struck by an SUV. She's okay.
They got wiped down, man. 2 people hit at a crosswalk right outside the temple. You think you're going to be safe.
I suspect foul play.
Yeah, me too. That's sad, though. I feel for them. I feel for them.
Jeff, what are these rumors about canceling the 1-year waiting period for civil weddings?
They're just that, so I'm not going to name any sources that I've received this from, but we'll see. But the rumors are going...
What's up, McKay Coppins?
No, it's never... McKay is dead to me. He knows what he did. No, but what's swirling around right now is that the churches might revisit the policy, not for every civil and temple wedding, but because, right now, of course, if you get married civilly, you have to wait a year before you can go to the temple. And I think
only in America.
Only in America, Canada, and South Africa, because they're the only countries that recognize our temple marriage as the civil wedding itself. So that's basically it. But what's going on is they might revise this and say that, okay, you can't be unworthy and just go in and get married civilly, then go to the temple. But I guess for those who might have non-member families, et cetera, they might give you the option, like the rest of the world, of getting married civilly with people there, and then within a certain window, based on your proximity to a temple, you can go and get sealed within a couple of days.
I wonder if there would be any, like how other people in the church would view that. I mean, are you going to be judged by people that are like, oh,
I don't know.
Well, I had a real
yeah,
temple
exactly.
wedding.
Do we see that coming in? I had the real wedding. Do we see it as a cop out? Like, hey, have some faith, man. It is hard for people to not go in, but we believe in something, bigger, something more important than that. Because
who's this? I hope
I
not.
know.
Like it's 6s, you're getting married. Anyway, we got some other stuff, but we'll talk about it next week. Jeff, I think you're tremendous. I enjoy our chats on the higher things of life.
I hope you enjoy a romantic dinner of Subway this evening.
Yeah, I hope you enjoy a Valentine's dinner at Red Robin, you cheap, dirty schmuck.
I work in international development. I don't make any money. Come on.
It does not matter, Jeff. It's the thought.
The thought is that I would buy her the moon if I could, but the moon is not for sale.
Jeff, instead you're buying her a bottomless basket of French fries? You're awful. You won't even spring for the $8 milkshake there.
I will. I will get her whatever she wants. I love my wife.
Anything on that dollar menu, baby.
No, I love my wife.
Anyway.
I do everyone.
If you guys would like, if you'd like to talk to us, you want to send us an email and say, hey, quit talking so much, you pompous, arrogant schmucks. I'm fine with that. I think you should. Send us an email at thisweekinmormons. Contact at thisweekinmormons.com is what I mean. And you may also visit our webpage at thisweekinmormons.com. Jeff, I was getting...
And if you go there, you can leave comments as well that tell us to quit being dumb.
Yeah.
To tell us to not be shorter. Do you people want a longer podcast? Do you want an hour and a half podcast? Because we'll do it.
If our people demand 2 hours a week,
we'll sit here all day.
No, we won't do that.
We'll start live streaming episodes where all Al and I do is show up at our respective offices, run our webcams, and we just talk and work. And that's the show.
That might.
It's going to be brilliant.
Not be real.
Al, do you want to plug a certain venture that you just started last week at all? You're welcome to. You don't have to.
A what?
You've started something last week with your day job.
No. We started a magazine. Right? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, I just I don't like to jump in on the quilt shop stuff, but if you want to plug it.
I don't think there's any quilters that listen to our show. I think I'm much too vulgar for them. But but we did start a magazine. It's been a labor of love. And so you're welcome to go to MissouriQuiltCo.com to check it out. You're welcome to.
Folks, I will give this my objective endorsement because I'm very picky about aesthetics and a lot of things, and it's a very good looking, well thought out publication.
Oh, thank you, Jeff.
So check it. I don't say that. I think a lot of magazines are just garbage, but this was. It's much more stylish. Admittedly, being a quilting magazine, I kind of expected it to look like an issue of The Friend or something. But
well, we worked hard not to, so that's great.
I'm impressed. Also, folks, please visit us on Facebook at facebook.com/thisweekinmormons, at The Real Twim on Twitter, at The Real Twim on Pinterest, Twimormons on YouTube, and subscribe to our Instagram account because it's amazing. This Week in Mormons on Instagram. Get the net, join our mailing list, listen to all of our podcasts on Stitcher, RSS, whatever it may be. We just love being a part of your lives.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's all. So many things to rattle off.
All right, man. Well, Jeff.
One more thing to rattle off. We should have done this earlier in the show. For any of our Southern California listeners, Al and I will be appearing on March 1st at the LDS Social Media Symposium.
That's right. We'll be presenting. We are presenters.
We will be presenting there. So if you're into social media and how it can be a part of the church or whatever you want to learn.
You know, when you put it like that, Jeff, I expect no one to attend.
I'm sorry. What I should say is we are actually featured in the advanced section where we will be teaching people social media tricks and how to be effective Mormons with social media.
Are we really?
Yeah, we're under the advanced panel. Yes,
boy. All right.
So March 1st, everyone.
Though. I feel like we know more than everyone else. So that's
we probably do. So if you want to go to the Stake Center in Irvine, California, starting at like 9 in the morning on March 1st, that's a Saturday. We'll be there. Come say hi. We'd love to meet some of you if you come.
We will buy you a burrito.
No, Al will buy you a burrito.
Right.
I will be broke from buying bottomless fries for my wife.
See you, Jeff.
Bye, Al. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you listening in. This is This Week in Mormons. Talk to you later. Bye.